Are you retiring to Sarasota? I bet somebody's told you about Lakewood Ranch, right? I mean, it makes sense that they would have because the place is amazing. There's always somebody telling people about Lakewood Ranch. In fact, 20 years ago when I came here, somebody told me about Lakewood Ranch and we came out and took a look. The place is incredible. Everything looks new. Everything's planned so well. They've got everything out there. They've got hospitals, they've got restaurants, they've got shops, they've got golf, they've got pickleball courts. I mean, so many pickleball courts. Do we need that many? I don't know. It used to be just tennis courts, but there's that. There's walking trails, there's lakes and ponds, whatever you want to call them. Everything seems to be designed around people and how people want to live. And it's just an amazing community. I mean, young or old, there's something for everybody. And the thing about Lakewood Ranch is, if you've never really seen it, it's hard to understand, but you've got to see it. And you've really got to imagine, is this the place that I want to retire to? When you get out there, it's such a great place to live that you really need to weigh all of your options and decide, I may have had one vision for my life, but this might be something different. Lakewood Ranch might be the place to retire. So in this video, I'm going to go through a few things. I'm going to help you with some pros and cons and just go over a little bit about what what retiring in Sarasota, retiring in Lakewood Ranch, which is, it kind of straddles Sarasota and Manatee counties, and what it might look like to live there. And just a little bit about what Lakewood Ranch is, all right? Now let's imagine you've retired and you've moved to Lakewood Ranch. What does life look like for you? I mean, you wake up in a newer home, probably got a more open floor plan than you've ever had, when bigger than the home you left behind, most likely. In most cases, that's the way it is. And then maybe it's a one-story home that you've moved into with a large kitchen and a walk-in shower. The showers are amazing in most of the homes there. And there's enough room for family and friends to visit inside the house. It's really incredible, most of these homes. They're really well laid out. Then you step outside and you see clean landscaping everywhere. There's nice sidewalks. There's ponds and there's walking trail. Depending on the amenities in your village, you may be able to walk to the clubhouse. You might be able to go to an exercise room or go jump in the pool. You might get on the tennis courts or pickleball courts. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things to do. I mean, there might be fitness classes for you, card games, clubs, dinners, and neighborhoods activities. It's all organized for you, depending on where you end up moving into and which village you end up in. I mean, that can be a major advantage when you're moving to Florida and leaving your familiar neighborhoods behind where you came from. I mean, one of the hardest parts of relocation and retirement in another area is not just buying the home, it's rebuilding your routine. You got to ask yourself, I mean, where will I meet people? A lot of people do ask us that. I mean, how am I going to meet people? What am I going to do during the week? How will I create new friendships? What's the structure of my life going to look like every day? Lakewood Ranch can make that a lot easier. It's not automatic, but you have to put yourself out and show up. But there's so many opportunities to build a lifestyle in these different villages. Even outside your own village, it's a neighborhood. The village term is kind of interesting. It's a little bit hard to get used to, or at least it is for me. But in any case, I'll roll with it. But the opportunities built into many villages in Lakewood Ranch as a whole are amazing. I mean, for someone moving here and they haven't established a network of friends, this can be extremely valuable. So let's talk about some of the newer homes and maintenance in the area. The next thing retirees appreciate is that the housing itself. Most of the homes in Lakewood Ranch are newer. They're less than 30 years old for the most part. They're still being built. And so you're going to find homes in Lakewood Ranch that are newer in most of the older parts of Sarasota. What that means for you is that you're typically going to have a newer roof, unless it was a home that was built 30 years ago. There will be some older roofs, but anything that's going in now, obviously brand new. So everything from no more than 30 years old. And if the roof has gotten too old, then it usually gets replaced. Not a problem there. Also, you're going to have modern, updated electrical systems. You're going to have impact-resistant windows, or you're going to have shutters that are impact-resistant. So if you're worried about hurricanes and storms, you can not worry. You'll be able to put up your shutters, or if you have impact windows, you just walk away, lock it, and go. Most of the homes are energy efficient, and then the floor plans, they're more modern. They're designed the way people live today. You may also find maintenance-free communities where the association handles the lawn care and landscaping or the exterior maintenance. It just depends on what they've got in their HOA in that particular village. I mean, that sounds perfect when you're downsizing, right? Because you want to simplify your life and you want things to go easier. But there is an important distinction when it comes to maintenance included. It does not mean maintenance free. So you're going to have to understand exactly what that covers, and every community is going to be different. So does it include the roof? Does it include exterior painting? In most cases, it doesn't. Irrigation, oftentimes, yes, in a maintenance-free community. And then who trims the landscaping? How far do they trim? Do they go all the way up to the edge of your house, or do they do the beds? Yeah, little stupid things like that kind of get annoying. But maintenance-free in general, it's great because they take care of almost everything. And then if you ask the people that are doing the work, they'll usually fix you up and get something taken care of if you had a special request. So who handles the pool? Well, if you have a private pool, you're going to handle it yourself. If you have a community pool, the community has funds for that. And so that's part of your HOA dues. They're going to take care of getting all the pool maintenance done. And they're going to take care of all the repairs and any replacements and those kind of things. They're going to take care of the lawns, the general maintenance around the homes and in the neighborhood, in the community. So your landscaping is always going to look great, right? I mean, it can be a con if you weren't expecting to pay for everything yourself. And then you find out that, you got to pay for your pools. Overall, you have to budget when you're retiring. You need to look at what you're going to be paying for, what the HOA is paying for, and where it's going to fit into your budget, in your lifestyle. Another reason people are attracted to Lakewood Ranch is because you can find virtually anything you need. You can find grocery stores, restaurants, banks, gyms. You can find the doctors, medical offices, pretty much anything, pharmacies, of course. All the everyday things you need are there throughout the area. And there's also gathering places such as Main Street, Lakewood Ranch, and Waterside Place, among some other shopping centers that are nearby. And then not too far away is University Town Center with the huge mall and all those restaurants just outside of Lakewood Ranch. You could go to dinner, you could attend an event, you could meet friends or shop for groceries and visit the doctor without ever having to leave Lakewood Ranch. I mean, you could stay there weeks on end. In fact, one of the best parts is that downtown Sarasota may still feel like a little vacation getaway, and you just go there when you decide to go there. So that would be the nice part about living in Lakewood Ranch. I mean, you could pop down into downtown and head out to St. Armand's Circle and spend a day at the beach and still feel like you've had a vacation day. It doesn't ruin Sarasota's downtown and beaches for you if you live out in Lakewood Ranch and you don't go there too often, because everything in Lakewood Ranch is there for you. So you really don't have to leave. You're relatively close to I-75, and that makes it much easier to get to Tampa or to St. Petersburg or get to the airports up north, go to sporting events, or if you want to go down south and get to Naples, you just jump on the highway and go. But it's a great place to go in terms of location. For many people, Lakewood Ranch starts to feel like its own city. Once they move there, they go several weeks without ever leaving the area. And it sounds convenient, and it is convenient, but this is also where one of the biggest trade-offs begins to appear. You see, when people tell me they want to retire in Sarasota, I ask them what they picture. Do you picture going to the beach several times a week? Is that your thing? Do you want to walk around downtown Sarasota? Do you want to see yourself having dinner near the bayfront? Do you want to be close to St. Armand's Circle, possibly, or Siesta Key, or Lido Key, and get on the water? How do you plan to live your life? Do you picture a newer home, a clubhouse, pickleball, golf, organized activities? I mean, what is it that you want to have? That's what you need to think about. Do you want to have this leisurely beach life, or do you want to have more of an organized activity strong type of lifestyle? Well, Lakewood Ranch is part of a greater Sarasota lifestyle. But true, it's not coastal living. It's not true coastal living. You're inland. You're definitely inland, and you can still drive to the beach. You can drive to downtown in Sarasota and the Barrier Islands, but you will be driving if you choose Lakewood Ranch. And that's okay, because there's so much to do there. And it's a beautiful place to live, as I said, over and over. So, but depending on the time of year and the time of day that you're living in Lakewood Ranch, it may take longer to get down to the downtown. things might appear pretty close on the map when you're looking for a home. And this is where some buyers make the mistake. They fall in love with the house during a 3-day visit here. They come and take time away from where they live. They're just shopping. They're focused on shopping, and they're not really looking at the distance to the beach. They don't even drive to the beach once. And we really try to encourage people to take some time and go look. I mean, they've decided on the distance is not a big deal. When they look at the map, maybe they took one quick ride and they just realized after they moved here, that maybe they wanted to go to the beach more often than they are after they bought their home in Lakewood Ranch. So, it doesn't mean it's a wrong choice. We just need to make sure that you get the right choice. We need to make sure that you get the actual retirement lifestyle that you were looking for. And we really need to explore different areas when you're coming down to buy a home in the Sarasota or Lakewood Ranch area. All right, let's talk about money a little bit. When buyers compare homes, they often focus on the purchase price, and the mortgage payment. But like many master plan communities, there's other things you need to consider, because the complete cost of living in Lakewood Ranch can include several additional expenses. A good chance you're going to have an HOA fee. Almost certain you're going to have an HOA fee if you're living in Lakewood Ranch. And if you're living in downtown Sarasota where it's not deed restricted, there's not going to be. And you also may have a community development district assessment, which is a fee, commonly called a CDD fee, or a stewardship fee, which is it's a con, obviously. It's a negative, but it adds to the overall cost of living. That's the negative part of it. However, what's the pro on that? And the pro is that the money that you're paying in the CDD fee, it helps with your infrastructure. It helps with the ongoing community cleanup of the neighborhood and the area. It may include landscaping, common roads, lakes, and preserve management, and the streetlights, the parks, the trails, all the things that went into building the area and the community and making it look so nice. Well, that's what your CDD helps to pay for, or your stewardship fee, however they call it where you buy. So you're going to see it in your property taxes, and it's going to be a sideline, and we can help you determine what the difference is between the taxes and the CDD fee for a property that you're interested in. What else are you going to have to think about? You're going to have to look at, depending on location and the property, you're going to have to look at the property taxes, of course, and then the homeowner's insurance. And then some locations you might have to look at flood insurance and whether or not you need that. Lakewood Ranch has had some flooding spots here or there after one of our heavy storms. So it's possible. And then if you choose to have a golf course or a country club community, there's going to be community membership fees, dues, depending on whether you're a social membership or a golfing membership or whatever's available. And sometimes they're not even available to join. So we have to look at that too. All right. If you have a private pool, there's going to be maintenance expenses and operating expenses for those. And none of those automatically make the home a bad value. It's just that, having an HOA that provides landscaping, a clubhouse with fitness facilities, pool, pickleball, social activities, and all those things, well, things that you might pay for separately, they're going to be bundled into your payments. So however you want to look at the payments, you're going to have them. And if you lived in a non-deed restricted community, you'd still have to pay for your maintenance. You'd have to pay for your pool maintenance if you had that. And so there's trade-offs, definitely. So the question really goes beyond, can I afford the house? Better question is, what's the lifestyle? What's it going to cost me every month to live the way I want to live? And much better question for retirement is this the lifestyle that I wanted to have? And are these the payments that I wanted to have built into my life? Or am I looking for something simpler? And I got to say, sometimes having that HOA, it keeps everything nice, and you have that peace of mind that there's always the HOA that's going to help keep everything quiet and peaceful. And if you're looking for a quiet and peaceful retirement, and you don't want that neighbor that drives their truck up in the yard and leaves the boat up in the yard, then Lakewood Ranch is definitely a place for you, because everything's going to be well kept, well maintained, and people do follow the rules. They're not too strict, but overall it looks much more beautiful than an older neighborhood that hasn't been maintained at all. Let's talk about growth and development, okay? So there's an issue that can be easily overlooked during a home tour, and that is Lakewood Ranch is still growing. Yeah. Growth brings a lot more restaurants, and it brings more stores and more medical conveniences and housing choices. It definitely does. But it also brings traffic and road noise and road construction. And there's always going to be trucks around while it's still going. And then there's probably 20 or 30 more years of development out in Lakewood Ranch. Now, get me wrong, some villages are fully developed and you won't ever hear any construction in those areas. But in others, they may have active construction going on for a long time. As they develop each community, they've got to be developed. You're always going to have the construction trucks coming and going for several years while they build it. And yeah, something you've got to consider. So before buying a home, you need to understand what is planned around the community, especially when you're looking for somewhere that has green space or lake or those kind of things. You need to know, is that field going to be built on, or is that going to be a green space, right? Can a home be built across the street, or, what's going to happen around here? Where are the future roads going to go? Usually the roads are in. That's usually not an issue. And usually when you see the lots, you can tell where the green spaces are going to be. And if you're buying new construction and we go out together to take a look, those are things I can definitely help you out with. And if you're looking at older homes, established homes, I guess I should say, it's usually easy to tell if there is a green space and if anything's going to be built on it. But you still need to ask. Make sure you ask your agent. If you're not working with me, make sure you have a great agent that can help you with those things. So the good news is Lakewood Ranch is a master plan community, so it's often possible to get an idea of what's coming next. And your agent should have a good idea. But you should never assume that today's view is permanent because there was nothing built on it. We do need to ask and check and make sure that there isn't anything that's going to be built on it. Here's some pros. Here's some great things about Lakewood Ranch, okay? Let's talk about something really good. Lakewood Ranch also has trails, and it's got sidewalks, and it's got recreational areas. Those can be excellent for walking and biking and exercise. But there is a difference between recreational walkability and functional walkability. You may be able to walk around the neighborhood, take a beautiful walk, and look at all the flora and fauna, as they say. But that does not necessarily mean that you're going to walk to a grocery store or walk to a medical appointment or a restaurant. Many of the villages are too far apart. A few areas near the town centers of Lakewood Ranch, they offer more opportunities to live close to the restaurants and to the different events and amenities. But most Lakewood Ranch villages, most of them you'll still depend on a car. You're going to depend on a car for normal daily life. I mean, it's an important part of your retirement plan that you understand that you are going to drive a little more in Lakewood Ranch. And if driving less is an important part of what you were planning, well, you need to think about this, especially if you're planning to age in place. You might need to think about, can I Uber? Will I get in-home health care? It depends on, of course, your age and your health and what those things look like and what you need. But if you're planning to age in place, you're definitely going to have to think about those things. So what will location, but in most Lakewood Ranch villages, you're going to need a car. You're going to have to depend on a car for normal daily life. Now let's talk about walkability. Lakewood Ranch also has trails, and they have sidewalks, and they have parks, and they've got recreational areas, and those can be excellent for walking, for biking, and for just general exercise every day. But there's a difference between recreational walkability and functional walkability. You may be able to take a beautiful walk around your neighborhood and look at all the beautiful things that are there, but that does not necessarily mean you can walk to a grocery store or a medical appointment or a restaurant. A few areas in and around town, like Waterside or near Main Street in Lakewood Ranch, I mean, and some other areas, they've got towns in those town centers. They have opportunities to live close to restaurants and events and different things going on. But in the majority of Lakewood Ranch villages, you're going to be far from those spaces, and you're going to need a car for daily life. It's an important decision you need to make. It's an important decision you'll have to make, especially if that's part of your retirement plan. If your retirement plan involves driving less and that matters to you, and aging in place is important to you, you really need to think about how you're going to work out transportation in the future. How long are you going to be able to drive for? Are you going to be able to Uber? How close do you want to be to a center like that? So those are very important things when you're considering retirement and what your next steps are going to be. How long are you going to live in the house? It's really something you've got to consider. That's one of the reasons I still like my buyers to, have an old-fashioned paper. When you're considering, will the home work today and will it work tomorrow? You also have to think about, what's going to become different in the future. It's one of the reasons I like to have my buyers get an old-fashioned map. I like to provide an old-fashioned paper map to them, so that way they can look at homes, mark the areas out, and then map out distances on paper. We all use our computers now, our handheld devices, our Google Maps and those kind of things, but really having a paper map where you can sort of plot out where your life is going to be, it makes a huge difference, and I highly recommend it. So you can see all the different areas, map out where you want to go, where you want to be, what life is actually going to look like, and then make a good decision about buying the home. Depending on which village you're going to be in and what your lifestyle is going to be like, it may change your mind about what you're going to buy. There's one more consideration that's almost entirely personal. And some people love the master planned community, the master plannedness, you might say, of Lakewood Ranch. And they like the landscaped entrances, the clean streets, the uniformed appearances, and the well-organized communities of Lakewood Ranch. And many people appreciate having standards and rules that help them maintain the neighborhood. And then other people feel like it's just too planned or too cookie cutter. And that's okay. It's not for everyone. Lakewood Ranch isn't for everyone. That's why there are pros and cons. Pros and cons for some people and may be different than to other people. Some people may want larger lots, and they might want older trees and more architectural variety and fewer restrictions in their neighborhood. And neither preference is right or wrong. It's just you need to know which kind of person you are. Do you want that uniformity? Do you want that really clean looking lifestyle? It's up to you. So one decision I would make before looking for homes, if I were you, Lakewood Ranch has its pros and cons. There's so many different decisions and so many different options. If you're thinking about moving to Lakewood Ranch, I think we need to take some time. I can take you out and we can look at the different communities. We can sit down and talk about it. So what's the one decision that I would make if I was looking for homes? Well, I'd take some time. I'd come out and take a look at Lakewood Ranch. I did that. I came out and looked, and I thought, this is an amazing community. So many people that we help, they come out and look at Lakewood Ranch and they love it, and we help them find the right home. And you do need to take some time and take a look and see if it's the right place for you. Do you want that type of community, something that's master planned, beautiful, it's growing, and it's going to be well established, clean and nice and safe for many years to come? Do you want the city that's got a little bit more character? Not one house looks like the other, and it's a little bit closer to the beach and the marina and all the restaurants and things that are going on downtown Sarasota. Those are the things you really need to consider when you're looking for a home. And I really do recommend taking some time and looking at Lakewood Ranch because it's a beautiful community. It is so well planned. Call me, take some time. You can leave a message down below and we can talk about what you've got. My number is 941-960-8844. I'm John Butegaards with World One Home Group at KW Suncoast. I'd love to help you go over some of these decisions and see if Lakewood Ranch makes sense or if maybe living in the city makes sense. Yeah, we can talk. I look forward to helping you. Bye.